is about data literacy. So we're looking at from the company perspective and also from individual perspective why data latency matters, right? So it's very important to look at that because it's not only for you and for your colleagues, but also for your companies to grow as well. So let's get it started. Before I go deeper, I would like to introduce myself a little bit. So I'm the chairman of OpenCert Hub, and formerly I was the Cyberport Chief Corporate Mission Officer. Cyberport actually is one of the largest incubators in Hong Kong and in Greater Bay Area. I also work for quite a lot of big corps like HSBC, IBM, Oracle, and KingD. So I've been in the business now probably around 30 years. So I have seen the Excel time, I have seen the relational database time, and also the business intelligence, data warehousing. Now we're talking about big data and AI. So it's all about data. Data is always giving us some good values. But in now, I mean, the digital economy, digital age, data is super important for every business and for every individual. So we're going to talk about this topic, data literacy, tonight. So right now, I'm also teaching in one of the famous business schools in Asia. I'm the associate professor there, doing quite a lot of digital transformation, EMBA, MBA program. And I also running a few startups in Asia, including tonight the Open Startup, and also other fintech and AI startup as well. So this year is a big. My dream has actually came true because I finished my book and I published it in Chinese. Is 数码力大提升, meaning that is boosting up our digital power. So I just published it in September this year. So actually, I try to consolidate my experience and try to share with more audience to understand why and how we can do our digital transformation to helping large and small enterprises to grow, particularly within the COVID-19 and after the COVID-19 period. So besides that, actually, I'm very active in the ecosystem. So not just Hong Kong or mainland China, but also gradually also involving and engaging in the, for example, Southeast Asia, the ecosystem. For example, those of you are in Malaysia, probably you know me, or you're also working with MTech, Mergic. So we are also in the same ecosystem, right? So this is my background. But more importantly, tonight we're going to take you through three major points because time is very limited. So I'm going to take you through some of the key points about data literacy. The first one is big data is the heart of today's digital leaders. So all the leaders around the world right now, actually, they are digital leaders. So it's not necessarily Amazon or Facebook or Alibaba, but you look at the traditional company. If they have done digital transformation faster than you, they are also the digital leaders. So we're going to talk about four types of digital leaders in these days and what we can learn from them. But you will find out that all these four types of digital leaders, their strength, their heart is actually big data. So we'll talk about that, right? And then why they are so successful, how they're leveraging all this data and to monetize it. Before they can monetize it, they need to have a set of talents. We are not just talking about data scientists. We are talking about all people in sales and marketing, in finance, in HR. They all need to be data literate. So we'll talk about what is data literacy, why it's so important for those digital leaders. And then the third point we'll talk about is democratization of data literacy. So it means how we can enable and empower every one of us in organization no matter it's large or small, government or commercial, or even you are a startup, how we can, every one of our employees and colleagues, how we can empower them to be data literate in order to monetize big data to the optimal stage. So those are the three things I would like to take you through in the next 20 or 25 minutes, and I will wrap it up. How's that? All right. So the first one is the big data is the heart of today's digital leaders. So who are digital leaders we need to talk about? But look at this chart from The Economist. It is very visualized what we are trying to do, right? We used to have, when you have oil, then you're going to be rich. You don't need to worry anything. Or the other way around, all the people have oil. They can do whatever they want because they have the money and they can spend to build buildings and warehouse and manufacturers. So they can make use of these hardware assets so they can make more money. So this is what we call the old economy. The new economy, if you look at this chart, is actually look at the companies above that. It's actually Google, Amazon, and Facebook, and Uber, and Airbnb, and Alibaba, Tencent. All of them, they don't need oil in that sense. They only need data to empower them. So this is the most variable resources in the digital economy, which is the data, right? So it actually allows the small guy to beat the big guys, because if the big guys have the money, have all the hardware, then they will win forever. But now, because the weapon is data, we don't need to have that so much of hardware in, so we can actually beat the big guys. So I'm not saying it from my brain. We're saying that from actually from the reality in the digital world these days, right? Actually, around the whole world, who are the leaders? It's not anymore. It's GE or all these, big oil company. No, they're all digital companies. But look at what kind of digital companies talking about. You look at the right hand side, which is the tech giants. Everybody know, Amazon, Facebook, something like that. They're all tech companies. They're all tech platforms, digital platforms. And then we have someone hidden behind. Probably we never heard about the name, but they're going to kill you, which is the startups, particularly unicorns. So this is the startup and unicorn in Asia in 2019. You have all these familiar names because all of us are from Asia, right? So this startup actually is gradually getting into different industry and beating the big guys. And the valuation actually is higher than the traditional leaders. So this is the second killer in the digital economy. But these two will say that they are still tech companies, whether they're tech giants or they're tech startups. There are two more kinds of digital leaders that we probably won't know what they are doing, but they're going to be good in the future. So the third one is the traditional companies in your same industry, for example, manufacturing, all right? But they transform themselves faster than you in terms of digital. For example, this is how we can make use of big data and IoT to make our factory to have a twin board rather, that what we call the twins, the digital twins, right? So we can manage, we can predict whatever is going to happen in the plant by making use of all this data and IoT. So we'll be able to perform and compete more effectively. For example, GE is doing it, Siemens is doing it, you name it, right? And then the fourth type of competitors is actually they are crossing their original industry. They're leaving or they are trying to cross the boundary to another industry and they can challenge and become a leader. For example, Volkswagen, everybody knows that they're automaker, right? Making cars, but now they are going into insurance business. Okay, on one hand, they have to do that because their business might not be going that well in the future because everybody going to share economy. That means less people will buy cars, right? But they have to diversify. But which direction? So why insurance? Data again. because they can track, they have the behavioral driving, the driver's behavioral data, put in this way, and they can make use of this data to calculate the risk of the driver. And then they can do underwriting, and then they can sell policy to their clients. So you look at all these four examples. I have no time to dig deeper, but you look at all these four major leaders in today's world, right? Some of them are pure tech company, some of them are traditional company. All of them are relying on one very important thing is the data that we got. So this is where I'm saying that big data is the heart of today's digital leader. Let's move on. So when we talk about why the small guys can beat the big guys, right? So you're seeing that all these companies in the right-hand side, Airbnb, Uber, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they're small kids, right? They're all startup. Nobody really looked upon them, right? But now they're king of the world. They don't have the factories, they don't have hotel rooms, they don't have the vehicles, but now their valuation is very high. They are ranking number 1 or to number 10, right, in terms of market cap. What they're relying on is asset-light business. Rather than like the old guys, they are making use the heavy asset-heavy business. So they are asset-light business. So they can scale fast, and they can also monetize the data much better than the old guys. So just to give you an example, Alibaba, everybody know they're king right now, right? They're making everything. But why? Where did they start from? And why they can make it? Other companies cannot make it. It's many, many reasons. But one of the very important reasons is that they have the data they got. They actually collect the data from online and offline, and from particularly from the e-commerce site. So they can massage the data and monetize the data and create other business, not even in the e-commerce area. One of the great examples is Ant Financial Group. So why they can create so many finance products and then selling well in the market? Why consumers and banks they need to employ their services? Is because they can monetize the data and then create this kind of product, differentiate from the traditional banks, insurance, security company, and even credit bureau, right? So those are the example. If you understand data, the importance of it, and if you know how to monetize the data, so you can as good as those tech giants and also all these four digital leaders we just talked about, right? So, but this is not free lunch, right? So you have a process, a journey you need to take, start and then gradually grow in terms of the data monetization journey, right? So you need to have a strategy, you need to have the platform, and then you can grow, and then you have data scientists, of course, but also you need all the employees, all your colleagues in your company. They need to have this kind of capability to co-create values together with the data scientists and also with customers in order to monetize the data as good as those guys we just talked about. So that's what we call the data literacy. Of course, data scientists, they already have 100 points for data literacy. But for laymen like you and me, you're working in supply chain, you are an accountant, you're working in government, you're working in manufacturers. Previously, we might not think, wow, I know some of the Excel, I play around the table, that's about it, right? But now these days, it's not enough. Okay, in order to, the lead, in order to win, in order to survive, okay, we need to know about data and how to make use of it. I give you a scenario. Now I'm talking to you in English, right? So I don't know Spanish, I don't know German. So if you are German, I cannot communicate with you. In the digital world, it's the same thing. If you do not know data, there's no way you can communicate. If you cannot communicate, then you're not going to survive. Not able to find a job, not able to make a lot of money. and not even survive, right? So in this chart, you understand the path, the journey of big data, the data monetization. But you're going to get more values to your company, to your client. But at the same time, in order to do that, you have to increase, to enhance your company. Every one of your staff, every one of you need to increase your data literacy. Well, so second part is I mentioned about data literacy is very important. So let's see what it is, okay, exactly, and then we can go on to see how we can democratize it to everyone. So you look at all these leading companies. So, like I said, the four types of leaders, right? They're all here. So their secret sauce is actually is the data literacy, right? So every one of them, okay, they understand what data can do for them. So they massage the data. They discuss with the data scientists. They discuss with the customers. They listen to the data so they can understand the customers. All that kind of thing is already a very important skill for them. So if, in order to be someone like them, or you wanted to compete or collaborate with them, we also need to talk in the same language, which is the data literacy. Right? So you look at these leading company compared to the laggards, right? This is a very good chart. In fact, this leading company are using a lot more machine learning than the lagging company, right? So that's why they are making use of data, right? Of course, some of this machine learning only known by the data expert, like data scientists or AI expert. But when you communicate together with all these business people and operation people, we also need to have this kind of language to communicate, identify the problems, understand the trend, and so on and so forth. Right? And this is another chart looking at the differences, the divide from better company and a little bit AI laggers. So in terms of how much data source they use, right? So the AI leaders actually using a lot more data sources. For example, not only the data in your Excel spreadsheet or in your ERP system, they're also using social media, IoT, GPS, all this spatial data, and also open data and unstructured data like video, image, and sounds, right? So all these kind of things can help us to have a better idea and a better accuracy to predicting the future and optimizing our performance. Right. So in 2020 and beyond, the most important skills in terms of the top 10, actually, according to Forbes, which is the number one, is actually data literacy. And then the rest are also important. Critical thinking and emotion intelligence and things like that is still important. But in today, this year, and also the next 10 years, but data literacy is the number one, right? And if you're not convinced enough, so you look at these statistics from PwC and also from the World Economic Forum, that the number there you see 30% is a scary number. That means in 10 years, 30% of our jobs will be automated by AI. And also from the WEF, this report, this job actually is a decreasing demand. So data entry class, we understand, but look at all these professional jobs like accountants and auditors. Look at engineers. Look at this RM, relationship manager. Look at the salespeople and marketing people, and even HR specialists. This demand is actually slowing down. So what they're going to do if they keep on to doing whatever they do in the past 10 years, that means they're going to be the 30% that will be automated. So very important for us is to you're aware of this and we reskill ourselves. So luckily, AI and big data also create a lot of new jobs. This chart from Accenture is very good because you look at this left-hand side is all human jobs like creativity. It's still all human. On the right-hand side is all machines. That means only done by machine. But there's a lot of jobs actually in the green boxes are done by human and machine together. That means we need to pick up the skill how we can work together with the machine, no matter what level you are and what industry you are. Right? So that's why we need to boost up our data literacy in order to do the jobs in the blue blocks, in the green boxes. So we will not be out of jobs, right? So this is something that we need to prepare ourselves and we train or we skill ourselves in order to do this kind of thing. So LinkedIn also talk about this, right? So across Asia, the number one digital skills for every country, actually is no exception, is big data. All right, because as I said before, big data is the heart of all these digital leaders. In order to compete with them or collaborate with them or become one of them, you need to have that kind of capability. All right. So let's move on. So for every companies, you have different roles of data talents. We already talked about data scientists, right? They are very good. They make a lot of money because so important, right? So important to the company. But in a company like 1,000 people, you only have one or two data scientists. That's the money you can afford, right? Put it this way. But a lot of other people like you and me, human resources, sales and marketing, we need to be data scientists, not citizen data scientists or data citizens. That is the concept we're going to introduce tonight. Because you want to be a data literate, you have to master this language. You need to be a citizen data scientist and data scientist in order to discover trends, explaining the trends, optimize your business, communicate with the data scientists, communicate with your customers and clients. All this kind of thing, you need to have this kind of data literacy. So in Gartner term, we call it citizen data scientist, right? The non-technical, non-data scientist, but you need to master and manage and make use of data. This sort of skill set, if you master it, this is what we call the citizen data scientist. So the last part I'm going to take you through is if that is so important, right? You want to be 70% in 10 years time. That means you still have jobs. That means you cannot do whatever you have done in the past 10 years because you're in high risk, right? What you need to do is to pick up the skills. Most importantly is your literacy, data literacy. So how we can help companies, employees, friends, and ourselves to become a citizen data scientist, then we need to democratize it, right? So how are we going to do it? So I'll give you an example so it's easier. So Airbnb, everybody knows it, right? Maybe you used it before. So Airbnb, I think this is very important. We do not, because we like data, we learn data. Data has a meaning to us. So for Airbnb, data means customer voice. Okay? That means when you grow up, okay, you cannot just talk to customer every day, right? Even you talk to them, you might not be able to understand everything they got and what they want. So Airbnb treat data as their customer voice, right? So they want everyone, every employee, they will be able to understand customer what they want. So the way they do it is to democratize the big data capability to every single employee in Airbnb. So they set up the data university and train all people to understand data. So you look at this data literacy, data access, data tools, and data education. So they be able to customer centric, put it this way, right? So as I said, the data monetization, that's a journey, right? From looking at the report, looking at the dashboard, and then you're trying to massage data to predict things, and then you look at the future and do preventive maintenance and optimization. There's a path that you can gradually take out the value, unleash the value of data to your company and to your customer. All right. So this is a path. But at the same time, you're not doing it for nothing. You're doing it because it has the capability for you to make more money, right? So this is what we call the data monetization. So from the very 20, 30 years ago, you pick up Excel, okay, you can do your job. And then for the last 20 years, you might be lucky to have some dashboards to look at some KPI to help you do some decisions. But these days, all big data are unstructured and structured data, right? So you cannot just use the Excel spreadsheet and also the BI tools to do that. All right. So you need to have the access to the big data, and you need to have the data literacy to explore the trends and opportunity there. And you'll be able to tell the story, what is happening. And also you'll be able to communicate with client, communicate with your data scientists what you need. So those are the skills that we need collectively. We call it the data literacy, right? So the tool set actually also changing from Excel to proprietary BI tools. Now it's all open source. In the big data world and AI world, most of the tools that we are using right now is open sources. So in other words, when you want to learn about and boost up your data literacy, you learn about all these concepts and all, but also need to learn about open source tools as well. Because all these big data, managing all this unstructured data and structured data together to make sense about it, this is all open source tools. So you need to learn about it as well. So that's why we set up the company OpenCert Hub. So our mission is very simple: to democratize big data and open source technologies and tools to the mass. That means data literacy. We want to democratize data literacy to the mass. So we work with training institutes like Six Pieces in Malaysia and many other training organizations around Asia, in China, in Hong Kong, in Singapore, in Indonesia, Thailand, you name it. So all these companies, they are training the people, but we are empowering them by offering a set of certification and examination. So when you take some trainings from someone, and then you come to our platform, we take our examination, and then we will certify you to an international standard, right? So we have the non-technical role, which is the data literacy side, citizen data science. We have the technical role, which is more from the technical AI data scientist path. So my colleague Daniel Yun, COO of OpenCert Hub, he will explain more about this technical and non-technical side of certification. So in a minute. So I'm almost through. So hang on. So our team actually is very international and very experienced data experts and CIO and CEO. So my team have 5 senior management. So I'm the chairman, and we have CEO in China and CEO for Asia. We also have COO, and we also have CMO. More importantly is our advisory boards. So we have the CEO and CEO and CIO and CDO in our management advisory board, and we have professors from famous university in our quality assurance advisory board. So to make sure our certification and examination are up to international standard. Right? And then, as I said before, we do it, we democratize data literacy to everyone by offering a standard, an examination, a certification. So we have a platform for you to take examination and then get the certification from us. So we are making use of the state-of-art technologies like facial recognition to recognize you. We are using blockchain to keep track of the version of your certification, no fake certification. And we also use analytics to help you to learn to improve. And then, of course, if you pass, then you're going to get our certification. So our certification, and then you're going to get the cert, either is citizens data scientist, advanced citizen data scientist, and more from the technical side as well. So Daniel will explain later. Right? And then you're going to receive the cert from us, signed by myself and also Herbert. Herbert is one of our advisors. He actually is the father of big data in Alibaba. All these Alibaba Big Data Foundation actually done by Mr. Herbert Chair. Now he's one of our advisors, and he's going to endorse the certification that you're going to get if you pass examination. Right? So I have one last slide. So probably after dinner, you will fall asleep, might not understand what I'm talking about. That's okay. I give you one slide to take away from my presentation, right? So this is a slide you need. So the first point I point out is that big data is the heart of successful digital leader. All these digital leaders, 4 types of digital leaders, right? Not only tech giants, but traditional company and company crossing the border, they have one very important asset is data, and they know how to monetize it. That's why they're the digital leaders. The second point is the most critical skills in digital economy is data literacy, right? So you're working for all these digital leaders I just talked about. You need to enhance your data literacy so you can help your company to monetize your data and serve your customer much better than others, right? The last but not least, the last takeaway is the democratize of data literacy to all is the key for data monetization and collective intelligence, right? So how we can democratize to everyone. So you need to take the training, you need to certify, so people know you're up to certain international standard. That's the most important thing. All right, so that's what I'm trying to say, but I will stay on and see whether you have any questions. Thank you so much. Thank you. I pass it back to you, Woon.
Okay, all right. Thanks to Dr. Cham for sharing your perspective on data literacy and digital economy, as well as monetization. You know, people nowadays like to talk about money. Well, anyway, let us welcome Daniel to share on the certification framework of CDPOS. Over to you, Daniel.
Okay. Let me share my screen. Go down.
All right.
Presentation. I think everybody got my presentation here and you can see now. Okay, I'm talking about a little bit of myself. My name is Daniel Yin. I have my career started as a coder, meaning a programmer, and I've been working in a number of companies, big ones, small ones, and I'm not only working on the technical side, I always working, jumping to the end user side. So I have understand a little bit how difficult the communication of the technical things between the IT and the end user. So, and I also have I also have a certification, language certification in software engineering. This is not about a technical certification. It's basically a project management which enlightened me a lot. I involved in a number of interesting projects during my career, such as the karaoke system. Now it's a canned solution. You can buy a karaoke system very easily. But when I started my career in the 90s, it was empty space, not much solution around to build our own. But also give me a chance to go into the operation of how company operate different business sector. It's very interesting. And during the early 20s, early of this century, meaning 2002, 2003, I started to work in a number of BI projects and data warehouse projects. And all these projects are now named big data projects in manufacturing, financial services, banking, apparel, the clothing industry, a lot of industry. And later in 2011, I joined a company called Gartner, the largest technology advisory company, which I also joined the team in the big data, BI, and analytics. So this is me. Through those career, learned a lot about analytics. And now I'm the COO of OpenCert Hub, open source technology. How to, Dr. Cham explained previously why we're doing this. We want to democratize the open source to not only the IT person, but also the non-IT personnel. So what I'm going to talk about today, I want to talk about two things. First of all, is about the CDPOS certification and what it is, how is the format and structure, how you can get this certification, and why you should get it. I will talk about the different roles and the cert, what you're going to learn and what's going to be able to empower you in your career. So, as mentioned, we have three roles here. This is a role-based certification. The first one is named Data Citizen. The second one is called Citizen Data Scientist. And on the far right side is advanced citizen data scientist. As Gartner coined the title, the tag citizen data scientist, we started to have job description who put it there saying that, okay, maybe those are not technical position, not a programmer, not a software engineer, but maybe hiring a digital officer, a digital marketing, digital marketing manager. Is that basically the competencies of being a citizen data scientist is welcome, and therefore these kind of roles have become popular and also emerge in the non-IT field. And in order to get these roles, this table try to summarize how you can get this role-based certification. Say for the data citizen, is a fundamental, we call the data literacy is a fundamental one. If you can achieve 2 certifications, then you will automatically awarded a role-based course data citizen. And then if you can achieve 3 certification, get the examination passed, and not only you can get 3 certification, but also you can get a role named citizen data scientist. So you can imagine if you attend the 3 certification and got passed, you will get 5 certification. Okay, 3 level certification and 2 role certifications. Also, if you're able to also pass the Python for big data analytics certification, and you got 4 certification passed, you will also granted a advanced citizen data scientist role-based certification. This is how it's going to be done. So basically, you learn and then you get passed in the certification, and you grant you not only the certification, but of that particular cert, but also a role-based certification. And what are they? What are those certifications contain? Say for the first one, we have a code name M01, Big Data and Open Source Foundations Fundamental Certification. You can see what we try to do is establish the understanding of big data, the terminology. What are they? What we can regard as big data? What is not? And how does the application of the big data and the related discipline and best practices in the industry? So you got to know, you begin to understand what's big data when people, such as an IT or data business analyst or data analyst in your company talk about big data and analytics, you know what they're talking about. And you can even get involved to talk about it. Many companies like this certification because they help them to improve the general understanding of big data application, the benefit, the risks, and all that related to them. And then the next one, the M02, the data visualization essential certification. The focus is on how to present data effectively and efficiently. Have you ever encountered a situation where the presenter on the stage have a very aesthetic, beautiful presentation, but it's very difficult to digest? For example, I once have joined a conference. The presenter try to talk about the trend of a phenomenon, but he used different pipe chart to let us to try to understand the trend. It's very difficult. So in the world of visualization, meaning when you produce a report, when you try to tell a story based on a dashboard, there's always best practices on what kind of data, what kind of scenario there are best kind of visualization you should use. For example, if you want to present the composition of the data, what does it compose? A histogram may be the best approach, not a pipe chart, not a line chart. So this is what is focused. And you start to learn how to use the open source visualization tools, which is used by Airbnb for some time now. The whole company are using this open source technology. It's pretty much like a Power BI and Tableau thing, although some people said that it's not as powerful as it is as the Tableau or Power BI, but what you really need is a free tools which is powerful enough for you to tell the good story. This is what M02 would like you to learn. And if you are able to pass this certification M02, then another data analytics essential certification M03 will focus on the understanding of the relationship between the data. We're talking about diagnostic. If there are certain phenomenon happens, what is the meaning behind it? For example, your sales team have missed the quota 1 million ringgit last month. That's good, right? And this end of month, you also attained the quota 1 million. Then you can go to sleep at night, the sales manager. Not really. When you look into the composition of the sales, you may discover there are great differences between these 2 months. The first month, maybe product A already can help you to achieve 80% of the quota. And then the 20% is other product. But this month, although your team is able to get the 1 million quota, however, the product sales shift, maybe only 50% of the sales are going to product A, and the rest of the product makes up of the rest of the 50%. What does it indicate? What you should do to capture the opportunity or avoid the risk, obviously, you want to know why. Is it just the social sentiment change, therefore product A no longer popular, or product A actually have some problem in delivery, in quality, or what? So those are the things that the sales manager would like to have the most update and understanding, and then they can act on it. So this certification focus on by using different model to understand different mixture of the data, like the clustering, what is your customer mix for this particular scenario. Therefore, you can optimize, you start to act, to provide you something you can act. And of course, if you're able to go to Lens and get parts in the pipeline for big data analytics, which is focused on the predictive, simple predictive analysis, meaning there are different visualization or reports you get, and then which course of action should be on a high priority. You better understand, and you would like to understand, if I take course A, what would my sales next week or next month? Or differently, if I take course of action B, is there any difference, or is even better or worse? So this course basically teaches you how to go through the whole full cycle of building a simple predictive model using Python, another very popular computer language for people who have no programming background. I have a comment on the Python. I work with, as I told you before, I start my career as a programmer. We use very low-level languages. And now when I look at Python, wow, it's really, really powerful and easy to read. That's very important. When you look at it, you already guess, oh, I really know what it's trying to tell me. 80% already. So this is what it is. This is the power of Python. Readability is easy to use, not a lot of complex syntax. So these 4 certifications make up the data analytics for business user. And the certification is signed by the 2 persons, the role certifications, Mr. Herbert Cha and Dr. To Cham. You know Dr. Cham pretty well already. He presented and tell you about him. And Herbert is another guru in the company, in the certification. Well, I think I would like to use one sentence to describe Herbert Cha. He joined Alibaba. When he joined Alibaba in 2011 or 12, Alibaba was already a very big internet giant, right? It's already very big. But Herbert Cha, as a head of data in Alibaba, helped Alibaba to become a data-driven e-commerce giant. This is what it is. Therefore, he is so popular in China, and he's been helping a lot of people as an advisor of many big internet companies. And why you need to get some certification? You learn something, and then is it what the certification can bring you more? Because if you have a certification, you can easily explore yourself, make yourself visible to the employment or future employer. Say, people are focused on data literacy now. And if you're a non-IT person, you're a non-data related person, and then when in your CV or you show something like, I have a certification in open source and data analytics related certification, and even have a role, people would like to talk to you. And therefore, you can easily, and you can get the attention of the future employee and of someone who interested to develop their company in this direction. I think you must have heard a lot of companies doing this digital transformation. And this is not only they're going to have an IT team or data team, it is the end of the story. No, they start to understand that the whole company need to know data. That means the data literacy has to be improved company-wise, enterprise-wise. Not only a team of expertise is enough. The whole company need to learn. So, and certification can help you to differentiate your data